There was a moment in London, right at the very end of the second night, when 60,000 people went completely silent. Not because the music stopped, not because the lights went dark, but because Jimin started talking, and something in his voice told everyone in that stadium that this wasn't just another closing moment. If you were watching the live stream, or if you've seen the clips flooding your timeline over the past 2 days, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen it yet, stay with me, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly why ARMY all over the world is calling this one of the most emotional moments of the entire Arirang World Tour. Before we get into it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this channel covers every single moment like this the second it happens, and you don't want to miss what's coming next for Jimin and the rest of BTS in the next few weeks. Let's set the scene first, because context matters here. BTS brought their Arirang World Tour to London on July 6th and 7th, performing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for 2 sold-out nights. This wasn't just any tour stop. This was BTS returning to London for the first time in 7 years, the last time being their historic Wembley Stadium shows back in 2019, when they became the first Korean act ever to headline that legendary venue. 7 years is a long time. 7 years of military enlistments, solo careers, individual growth, and finally, a reunion that ARMY had been waiting for since the day the members left one by one to serve their country. So when RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook walked out onto that stage in North London, it wasn't just a concert. It was a homecoming, 7 years in the making. And it wasn't just the stadium that felt the impact either. In the days leading up to the 2 shows, the entire city of London was transformed as part of the BTS The City Arirang London takeover, running from July 4th all the way through July 10th. The London Eye was lit up in honor of the tour. There was a themed boat cruising along the River Thames. The Korean Cultural Centre UK hosted an exhibition featuring actual stage outfits from BTS's 2019 Wembley shows, letting fans see, up close, pieces of the group's history in the city. The British Museum even partnered with BTS for a special Korea gallery trail, inspired by the Arirang album, spotlighting Korean artifacts including a moon jar and pieces from the Silla Kingdom. There was a Nike x BTS pop-up store at Westfield, London, a dedicated ARMY Madong fan space at Outernet, and partnerships with Korean restaurants across the city so fans could experience a taste of Korea while they were in town for the shows. In other words, this wasn't just 2 nights of a concert. For an entire week, London basically became a BTS city, and every single piece of it was building toward those 2 nights at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And London did not hold back. Across the 2 nights, BTS drew an estimated 130,000 fans, setting the highest attendance record the stadium has seen since it opened back in 2019. Tickets for both shows had sold out in a matter of minutes when they first went on sale, and once the shows actually happened, the reviews came pouring in just as fast. Rolling Stone UK and The Guardian both handed the concert a full 5-star rating, with critics praising everything from the 360-degree stage design to the way the setlist blended brand new Arirang tracks with career-defining hits like Fire, Idol, and Not Today. One review even called it a coronation, saying BTS didn't just come back to London, they reclaimed their throne as the biggest band in the world. If you were lucky enough to be inside that stadium on either night, you already know how special this run was. And if you weren't, don't worry, because we're about to walk through everything that made these 2 nights unforgettable, especially what Jimin did right before the group said goodbye to the city. Let's rewind a little further back too, because London didn't happen in isolation. This entire European leg has been one emotional beat after another. Just weeks before London, BTS touched down in Madrid on June 26th and 27th for their first ever concerts in Spain, performing at Riyadh Air Metropolitano in front of crowds who had waited their entire lives to see BTS on Spanish soil. Jimin gave an emotional speech to Spanish ARMY that night too, one that had fans in tears long before London even happened. From there, the tour moved to Brussels for 2 nights at King Baudouin Stadium on July 1st and 2nd, marking the group's first ever concerts in Belgium. And then, of course, London. 3 countries, 3 firsts, or returns, all within a span of about 2 weeks. If you think about the sheer physical and emotional toll of performing at that level, night after night, city after city, while still finding the presence of mind to notice a fan in distress in Brussels and deliver a heartfelt, personal goodbye in London, it says a lot about who Jimin is as a performer and as a person. Now, if you've been following this channel, you know Jimin has had an incredible few weeks on this tour, and London was no exception. During the first night, he stepped out wearing a cat ear beanie from the British label Charles Jeffrey Loverboy, and within minutes, clips of him in that hat were everywhere online. The item reportedly sold out on the brand's official website before the concert had even finished, priced at around $230, gone in every single color. Fans online called it the Jimin effect in action, a phrase that's become part of everyday fandom vocabulary at this point, because this isn't the first time it's happened, and it definitely won't be the last. Whatever Jimin wears on stage, in an airport, or even just casually during soundcheck, has this uncanny ability to sell out almost instantly. It's happened with luxury designer pieces, it's happened with small independent labels, and in London, it happened again with a knitted beanie that nobody had heard of a week earlier. But fashion wasn't the only thing people were talking about. If you go back just a few days before London, to July 2nd in Brussels, you'll remember the moment that really set the tone for how people have been talking about Jimin lately. During BTS's concert at King Baudouin Stadium, Jimin was in the middle of speaking to the crowd when he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. He had noticed something happening in one section of the audience. Someone appeared to be in distress, and instead of continuing with the show, Jimin immediately alerted venue staff, pointed toward the area, and asked them to check on the situation right away. He didn't wait for someone else to notice. He didn't brush it off and keep singing. He stopped everything, made sure help was on the way, and only continued once he knew the fan was being taken care of. That clip spread everywhere within hours, and it became one of those moments that reminds everyone exactly why Jimin has built the kind of relationship he has with ARMY. It's not just about the vocals or the dancing, although obviously that's a huge part of it too. It's about the way he pays attention. It's about the way he notices things most performers, standing under those lights with 60,000 people screaming, would probably miss completely. So when London rolled around just a few days later, and the second and final night was coming to a close, there was already a certain energy in the air. Everyone knew this was it for the city, at least for now. HYB hasn't announced any additional UK dates for 2027 yet, so as far as anyone in that stadium knew, this could be their only chance to see BTS live in London for who knows how long. The 2.5-hour set had gone through nearly every emotional beat you could ask for, from explosive era-rang tracks like Body to Body and Hooligan, to the fan-favorite nostalgia trip through Not Today and Mic Drop, all the way to the tender, almost meditative closing number, Into the Sun, which ended the main portion of the show with fireworks lighting up the London sky. And then, right at the very end, before the final goodbye, Jimin took the microphone. This is the part that's been circulating everywhere since July 7th, and honestly, once you hear what he actually said, you'll understand why. Jimin started by thanking the crowd, genuinely thanking them, for the memories they had created together across those 2 nights. He talked about how much this run had meant to him, and he expressed real hope that BTS would find their way back to London again in the future. But then he did something that a lot of performers never really do in these closing moments. He didn't just talk about the tour, or the music, or even ARMY as this massive collective fandom. He got personal. He talked directly to the individual people standing in that crowd, as if he was speaking to each person one-on-one rather than to a stadium of 60,000 strangers. He told everyone to take care of their physical health and their mental health, both, not just one or the other. In a world where everyone is constantly told to push harder, work more, sleep less, Jimin took a moment on one of the biggest stages of his career to remind people that their well-being actually matters, that taking care of yourself isn't something you set aside once you've achieved your goals. It's something you have to protect along the way. And then he went even further. He reminded fans to take good care of their parents. Not in some abstract, general way, but specifically, directly, asking people in that stadium to remember the people who raised them, who supported them, who are probably at home right now while their kids are out at a BTS concert screaming their hearts out. And as if that wasn't enough to get people emotional, he also brought up something you almost never hear an idol mention in a closing speech at a stadium show. He told fans to take care of their pets too. Their actual pets, the dogs and cats waiting for them at home. It's such a small, specific, almost mundane thing to say in the middle of this massive, glittering, record-breaking world tour, and that's exactly why it hit so hard. It wasn't a scripted, polished, PR-approved line. It felt like something a close friend would say to you before you leave each other's company, not something a global superstar says to a stadium full of strangers. He didn't stop there either. Jimin also encouraged everyone in the audience to keep working hard, whether that meant working hard at their jobs, earning money, taking care of themselves and their families financially, or working hard at school, focusing on their studies, building their futures. He acknowledged that life outside the concert, outside the lights and the music and the 2.5 hours of pure escapism, is still happening. People have responsibilities. People have exams, deadlines, bills, families depending on them. And instead of just saying, have fun, or see you next time, Jimin used this moment to genuinely encourage people to go back to their real lives and put in the effort, because he knows that most of the people in that stadium aren't going to see him again for months, maybe longer, and he wanted his last words to actually mean something once the lights went down and everyone went home. And then came the part that absolutely broke ARMY on social media. Jimin asked the crowd to think of him every single day until they meet again. Not in a demanding way, not in a needy way, but almost like a quiet, sincere request between two people who care about each other and know they're about to be apart for a while. He asked fans to make him a promise. And then, to close it all out, he told them, simply and directly, I love you. 3 words. No elaborate metaphor, no complicated poetic phrasing, just the plainest, most honest way to end a night like that. And somehow, that simplicity is exactly what made it land so hard. After everything, after the fireworks and the choreography and the deafening fan chants, it was this quiet, personal, almost whispered goodbye that ended up being the moment everyone walked out of that stadium still thinking about. If you scroll through social media right now, you'll see thousands of ARMY accounts sharing their own reactions to this moment, many of them saying they cried, some saying they had to rewatch the clip 5, 6, 7 times just to fully process it. And honestly, that reaction makes complete sense when you think about who Jimin is and how he's built his relationship with fans over the years. This isn't the first time he's shown this kind of thoughtfulness. If you followed his Weverse posts, his live streams, even small moments from soundcheck where he's noticed a fan looking cold or upset and reacted with genuine concern, you know this is a consistent part of who he is. The Brussels moment just days earlier, where he paused an entire stadium show because he noticed someone needed help, wasn't a one-off. It's part of a pattern. JiminBTS. He remembers that behind every scream, every light stick, every fan cam, there's an actual person with an actual life, an actual family, actual pets waiting at home, actual responsibilities to get back to once the concert ends. And in London, on that final night, he made sure everyone in that stadium knew he saw them as exactly that, not just a crowd, not just a number and an attendance record, but individual people he genuinely cared about. It's also worth remembering just how physically demanding this stretch of the tour has been. 2 shows in Madrid, 2 in Brussels, 2 in London, all within about 2 weeks, on top of every promotional appearance, every soundcheck, every fan interaction along the way. And yet, according to fans who were tracking the shows closely night after night, Jimin's energy on stage never seemed to dip. If anything, people online have been saying the opposite, that he looked more present, more engaged with the crowd than ever, constantly making eye contact with fans in different sections, pointing them out, reacting to signs held up in the crowd. That kind of consistency, night after night, city after city, doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice he keeps making, show after show, to stay connected to the people who are there for him, even when exhaustion would give anyone a completely understandable excuse to hold back a little. And that's really the through line connecting Brussels and London. In Brussels, it was about noticing someone in trouble in real time. In London, it was about making sure 60,000 people, all at once, felt individually seen before they went their separate ways. Now, here's where things get even more exciting, because this isn't the end of the story, it's really just the beginning of the next chapter. BTS is not slowing down after London. The Arirang World Tour continues to Munich, Germany, for 2 more shows on July 11th and 12th, and after that, the group heads to St. Denis in France for performances on July 17th and 18th. But the moment everyone is really counting down to comes right after that. BTS has been confirmed to perform at the FIFA World Cup 2026 halftime show on July 19th, sharing the stage alongside global icons Shakira and Madonna. Think about that for a second. A K-pop group, 7 members who not so long ago were completing mandatory military service back home, are about to perform on one of the biggest global stages that exists, in front of an audience that will likely be measured in the hundreds of millions once you count everyone watching around the world. This tour just keeps getting bigger, and Jimin, along with the rest of the members, is right in the middle of every single headline-making moment. Zoom out even further, and the scale of what's happening right now becomes almost hard to fully process. The Arirang World Tour has already made history as the largest touring run ever undertaken by South Korean artists, with 88 shows announced across 34 cities and counting. By the time the tour reached its 13th reported show, Polestar box office data showed it had already generated well over $139 million in gross revenue, with more than 660,000 tickets sold. In May alone, the tour pulled in over $127 million from North American shows, officially breaking a Billboard box score record previously held by the Rolling Stones since 2019. These are not small numbers. These are historic, generation-defining numbers. And Jimin is 1/7 of the reason any of this is possible. One member of a group that spent years apart, individually building solo careers, fulfilling mandatory military service back home, only to come back together and immediately shatter records that have stood for decades in the touring industry. And that's exactly why moments like this closing speech in London matter so much, not just as a sweet, emotional clip to watch once and move on from, but as a real window into who these people actually are underneath the fame, the record-breaking numbers, and the sold-out stadiums. Because at the end of the day, after the Billboard box score records, after the 130,000 tickets sold in London, after the beanie that sold out in minutes, and the reviews calling this the biggest BTS show to date, what people are actually going to remember is this. A 20-something-year-old man, standing in front of 60,000 strangers on a stage bigger than almost anything else in the music industry right now, choosing to use his final words not to hype up the next tour date, not to promote anything, but to ask people to take care of their parents, love their pets, protect their mental health, and think of him until they meet again. So here's what I want to know from you. If you were in that stadium, or if you've watched the clip online, what part of Jimin's message hit you the hardest? Was it the bit about taking care of your parents? The pets? The reminder about mental health? Drop a comment below and tell me, because I genuinely want to know which part of this moment resonated with you the most, and I'll be reading through the comments on this video. If this is the kind of content you want more of, moments like this broken down in full detail, with all the context you need to actually understand why they matter, then do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more army who need to see this. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we're covering every single stop of this tour, from Munich next week to the FIFA World Cup performance later this month, and you do not want to miss any of it. And if you know another army who needs to see this clip, someone who might have missed it in their timeline, go ahead and share this video with them right now. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. And one more thing before we close out. If you're new to this channel, we've been covering this entire tour from day one, going Tokyo, Busan, Madrid, Brussels, and now London, with every viral moment, every setlist update, and every piece of news broken down exactly like this. So if you want to stay caught up as BTS heads into Munich next week, and then onto the FIFA World Cup stage on July 19th, this is the place to be. Comment down below where you're watching from too. I love seeing just how global this fandom really is, from Jakarta to London to everywhere in between. Before you go, let me leave you with this. Jimin asked everyone in that London stadium to think of him every day until they meet again. So here's a small challenge for you. Wherever you're watching this from, whatever city you're in, take a second today to actually do what he asked. Call your parents, pet your dog, or your cat if you have one. Take a break if you need one. Because honestly, that's probably exactly what he'd want you to do right now, more than anything else. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, take care of yourselves.